Let's see. Are we going to try to get Kayla back here, Xander? Let's give it a shot.
Should be good now, guys.
Yes.
There you go.
There
we can hear
Sorry
her.
about that. There we
no
go.
Problems. It's streaming. We always have these issues every now and again. Good to see you, Kayla. Yeah, your debut on the JAKIB Sports post-game show. Jody was going to ask you your first thought on the game, but before we get to that, your first thoughts on sharing the stage with Seth Joyner and D Gunn.
It was awesome. I mean, they're super talented.
And
it's great to work. Yeah, they were all great. Everybody involved there, just learning so much from them. I originally am from South Jersey, Philadelphia area, so I actually did watch them when I was younger as well. So it's kind of surreal and kind of full circle to be working one-on-one with them right now, and I'm really excited for the rest of the year.
Kayla, I did ask you the question earlier. We couldn't hear your response, so now that we got your mic up and running, we're going to get that.
There we go.
Word, phrase, sentence. If we got to take a paragraph. Eagles win. Don't wow anybody. Not impressive, but a W is a W is a W. How do you describe it in short term? How do you put a caption on the Eagles' 25-20 victory over the Patriots?
I would say preseason matters, and then disappointed but not worried.
Ooh, I like that. Very good.
Preseason. Now, how much does preseason matter?
I think you saw it last night, the fact that I don't think they need to play all 3 preseason games, and I get injuries a worry, but I think all around the NFL yesterday, you saw that week 1 was almost that 4th preseason game. Nobody was really on key on both sides of the ball, especially for Philadelphia last night. And I think it's hard with the new offensive coordinator as well to really be able to coordinate this offense, you could say, against Bill Belichick when he hasn't had a game with all of them together on even one snap. So I think even if the starters can just play 1 quarter in the preseason, that might even help to get the game speed because it's different than practice.
All right, I'm going to age and date myself here. And Kayla, I can tell, is significantly younger than either me or my mom. Certainly younger than me.
What gave it away, Joe?
Not too hard to figure out. I did have cereal this morning, and although I didn't need to go out for milk, I had plenty in the fridge. Had I needed to and gone to the store, I had a fear that maybe I would see Dallas Goedert's picture on the back of my milk carton. See, now John gets this. Kayla might not, but that's what they used to do, put missing kids on the back of milk cartons.
Which is Dallas disturbing, by the way. I never understood that. We're digressing, Kayla. Go ahead, Jody.
Sorry to get us off track, but I had to go milk because Dallas Goedert was missing in action yesterday. You want me to go MIA? Go into the weeds of battle? Just a complete no-show yesterday on the scoreboard, on the field. Dallas's fault, Jalen's fault, the offensive coordinator's fault. How do you have one of the best tight ends in the NFL not throwing the football for 3 quarters plus 1 target in the 4th quarter? What happened to Dallas Goedert as part of the Eagles offense yesterday, Kayla?
And that 1 target, it really shouldn't even been thrown to Dallas Goedert. It should have been thrown to Devontae Smith in that situation. I don't want to put all the blame on Jalen Hurts, but there was multiple instances in that game where Dallas Goedert was wide open and he either went to A.J. Brown in double coverage or tried to go to Devontae Smith. I think yesterday, especially with how the game started with the weather, even though some of those small slants would have worked, especially the rain was coming down, try to get that work and get your offense pushing up the field. I'm not too much in panic mode right now because if you guys remember last year, kind of the same thing happened with Devontae Smith, and then that connection started to heat up. It's crazy to me, though, that he only had 1 target and didn't even have a catch in that game. I mean, you need to get this guy involved, and if you don't, they're in a lot of trouble. But once again, it's week 1. I just think that Jalen wasn't on his P's and Q's, you could say, and hopefully against the Vikings with just 4 short days, he'll be able to really get Dallas Goedert involved because if not, it's a waste of talent right there. You can't go 2 weeks without throwing to one of the best tight ends in the National Football League.
Yeah. And it was weird, as you mentioned, Kayla. Devontae Smith didn't get a catch in Detroit in week 1 last season. We all talked about it all week. Didn't get a catch. What's going on? And week 2 was against Minnesota. And they got him, I think the first 2 plays, they went to Devontae Smith. Bang, bang. I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens with Dallas Goedert this week. But Brian Johnson, I'm surprised. Well, I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but throughout the off season, people are like, yeah, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Brian Johnson, so much talent. Who cares about Shane Steichen? We've turned the page. Wasn't fine, at least for week one. Is that more of that lack of preseason, the rustiness, or is it more maybe they have an issue and maybe it's a bigger deal being a play caller and there's sort of an art to it? Where do you land on that curve?
Well, I think it's crazy talk that anybody thinks that he's just going to pick up where Shane Steichen left off, because I think Steichen was a very good play caller. But once again, I'm not really in panic or worry mode just yet. You have to think about it. It's his first game with all the starters, and he's going up against Bill Belichick. So being in that situation right there, you already see that that's one of the things that I was worried about going into that game, that it was going to be a really tough test for Brian Johnson. And we saw that yesterday. Now, I think you at least give him until week 4 to see what he can do. And then you maybe understand if Dallas Goedert doesn't get involved, if they're going to Kenny Gainwell in the first 6-7 plays and that's all they're going to, maybe it really is an issue and they need to look things over from that standpoint. But I think it was week 1. I think it was tough, the weather-wise, not having any preseason games. I do think he's talented, but at the same time, you got to run something out there and you got to have your weapons open. You got to get to those guys and find Jalen a way to get to the ball. I think Nick Sirianni, too, didn't have the best game either. You talk about going for it on 4th down and turning the ball over on downs. My mind. And you knew that was a Nick Sirianni call because he's aggressive like that. But in that situation, I didn't really understand it as well. So I think just all together, it's week 1. I think all around the NFL, you kind of saw a lot of slow starts in that way. I give him until week 4, and then I say, okay, maybe we should start worrying.
All right, I'm going to ask you a completely unfair question, but that's what we do here on Birds 365, and the schedule kind of dictates it. We're going to start to look ahead because before you know it, Thursday's here, and I got to play the Vikings again.
Right.
What kind of role do you think Rashad Penny has in week 2? He had a relaxed role week 1, as in not dressed, as in got to stand in the sidelines in the press box in civilian clothes. Is this going to be an ongoing thing? Does he get dressed and fill the Boston Scott role, which means handful carries at best, and probably not because Boston is still the kick returner? The DeAndre Swift role? Are they going to flop and go, we'll run Rashad Penny the same way we did Kenny Gainwell and just use one of our backs as our main guy like they did last week? What's the Kayla crystal ball say for Rashad Penny week 2?
It's weird and it's hard to predict because Swift, he got about 2 touches in that game, and that's absolutely crazy. Nick Sirianni said in the post-game press conference too, you can't end a game like that. So when you're talking about adding Rashad Penny into the mix and Swift only having 2 touches, that worries me just a little bit. I do think if he's healthy, like they are saying, that they should dress him, because I don't necessarily think Kenny Gainwell should be getting that many touches to start out the game. I do think that they're going to like him as their number 1 back, and I do understand that. But you have these guys in your running back room. I would like to see a little bit more of a rotation, because I do think Kenny Gainwell is good, but in certain instances, he's not the guy. He's not the brutal back that's going to push and push and push. I think those other guys are. So I would like to see him get dressed on Thursday. And if he is, I think you got to put him in that situation. You got to figure something out. You got to have a little bit of a rotation, because after the beginning drive, it was very stagnant in the run game.
And maybe they'll have more of an option to dress him with some of the injuries, depending on how healthy guys come into this short week. But we'll see if Rashad Penny has a role. But I think it's pretty clear Kenny Gainwell is going to be their lead back until he loses the job, so to speak. So it's his to lose at this point. Defensively, Kayla, I think, they made some splash plays, starting with the Darius Slay, obviously the pick 6, and you have the big Jordan Davis turnover with the forced fumble. But there were some issues as well, particularly with the coverage in the middle of the field. They gave up a ton of yards on paper. Jalen Carter, on the other hand, if you want some positive, was off the charts. Where are you with the defense of this team after week 1?
I'm a little worried, if I'm going to be honest with you. And Nakobe Dean, there's no really word on him, but he did end yesterday in a boot in his right foot. So that makes me very worried because they're already thin right there as well. Fletcher Cox was also a little bit banged up. I'm not as worried about the Vikings, though, because I think Darius Slay had a really good game against them last year, and I think it will be the same thing. But I do worry about the safeties. I think right now that's something that they're falling back on, and their linebackers. I think the front, everything that we expected, and I think they're going to get even better. I really like Jordan Davis, and I said that last night. He's a guy that came in last year on that rotation, and he's going to make a big difference this year. And Jalen Carter, that dude is the real deal. He was drafted to be, and he's going to be. He is absolutely dangerous. And I don't think the Vikings interior is going to be able to stop him on Thursday night. So I think, honestly, defensively, the Eagles might have a better game. And I say that because I don't even know if Kirk Cousins is going to be able to get the ball out half the time like Mac Jones did. I think Jalen Carter is going to have a much more successful job at getting to him and maybe picking up more than one sack in this game.
And
over
he's
the
susceptible
season, though,
for the fumble.
right.
He fumbled twice yesterday against Tampa Bay. Same thing.
Yeah, and the
So
Bucs
when he
aren't
gets hit,
even
he
as good as a
fumbles.
line.
Yeah,
exactly. And I think I am worried about the linebacking core, though, and I think that's something that was a huge worry going into the season. I don't think people realize how big of a loss TJ Edwards was from last year. So I don't know what Howie's thinking up there, but I think something's got to be done, especially if Nakobe Dean's not able to dress or play on Thursday and if he's out for a few weeks.
Between Davis and Carter and Fletcher Cox, Eagles got some serious penetration and some very good play. And the Patriots couldn't run the ball up the middle at all. They were very good against the run against the Pats trying to go between the tackles. But they didn't get much off the edge. You would think with the guys getting the pressure, specifically Carter as much as he did, that somebody be able to make a play coming off the edge. Didn't get that yesterday. Hassan Reddick, one tackle, one pressure. That's it. Hand probably still bothering him. What do you think the Eagles' issue was? Because last year they were phenomenal coming off the edge and 70 sacks. What do you think the issue was yesterday?
I think you just touched on it right there, too. I think Hassan Reddick was a name we were calling time after time after time again last season. But I expect him to heat up as he gets healthier and as the season goes on as well. Once again, I think it's week one, and that's the thing that's been so tough to really be able to rate how this defense and offense may be, just because the lack of preseason play and really just playing in practice and trying to get all of that figured out. So I'm not too worried about it right now. I think Reddick is that guy that's going to lead that. And as soon as he gets healthy, I think they'll be completely fine. I think on the edge, they'll be a little bit set as well, especially with Reddick as he decides to get a little bit healthier.
Coming into the season, Kayla, one of our big concerns, Jody and I, was special teams. Probably more me. I was looking, wow, they were bad on special teams last year and they lost everybody. Well, week one, they were pretty darn good. I mean, Jake Elliott was the player of the game, in my estimation. Now, he's always been good, the good part of the special teams, but I was really concerned with Marcus Jones, who's an all-pro punt returner, maybe the best punt returner in football. He got a 21-yarder, but he had two other returns for 0 yards. Sidney Brown with a big hit, Josh Jobe, big coverage. I was impressed by the special teams. They might be better. They might have finally found some players for special teams. Third phase, nobody talks about it. I think it helped the Eagles escape Foxborough.
I think special teams can win or lose you games, and we saw that yesterday. And I do want to touch on Jake Elliott real quick because I know that people know what he is in Philadelphia, but I think that he doesn't get enough respect in the entire NFL. I know everybody's high on Justin Tucker, and he's probably the best kicker in the league, but you got to give respect to Jake Elliott's name. He single-handedly might have won that Eagles game last night. If it wasn't for him, if he doesn't make those, they're in some really big trouble. I mean, if he can consistently do this, not that the Eagles want to rely on a field goal every time they drive all the way up the field and only end up with 3 points, but Jake Elliott is a guy who consistently for Philadelphia has been there when he's been needed and getting those huge field goals. I was impressed with the special teams yesterday, and I think that's something that hopefully they can just expand on as the season goes on, because you can tell when a team has a bad special teams and it really affects them at the end of the game, and it's a win or lose situation sometimes.
I give less credit to the special teams than John does. That was a nice fake punt that Aaron Sipas pulled in the middle of the game. Let me kick it. No, let me not. Let me run up 5 yards. Did he even play college football? Did Aaron Sippers play college football?
No,
Because they're
he's
allowed
from
to do that in
Australia.
college. You can wait and wait and wait, let your whole defense get downfield and cover a punt. You can't do that in the NFL. That's against the rules.
No, he's a rugby guy.
Yes. So you got to know the rules there, Aaron. You got to kick the football. When they snap at you, you kind of got to kid it. You can't run up.
It's your job.
Yeah.
It's a great holder.
It's work. He does have, got to give Jay credit. He does have confidence in him, and that we can agree. All right, Vikings come to town on Thursday. Short turnaround. A couple of things we've already touched on as to what the Eagles have to be ready to accomplish. Stopping the run, not going to be one of them, as far as I'm concerned. John gave grief to Quincy earlier that the Vikings decided to say, all right, we can just take a step backwards after winning 13 games. If stopping the run is not something that they have to give extra consideration to and the like, what kind of defense do you think Sean Desai is going to push up for Thursday against the Vikings? I thought he was actually pretty aggressive with blitzes yesterday. Do you think we see even more so Thursday night? Because, if Matson guts them, I'll be shocked. Do you think that the Eagle fans will appreciate week number 2 of the ongoing evaluation of Sean Desai as an aggressive defensive coordinator?
Blitzing, I think, is a little bit of even kill in this game just because the weapons, especially in Jefferson and Hockenson, that they have on their team. But that being said, I do think that Kirk Cousins is not like a Jalen Hurts, at least at this point in his career. And we all know how he plays in primetime as well. So I think that the blitzing could be a really good tool here for Desai to use in this game. That being said, I feel like Jalen Carter is going to be able to get in there once again, and I think Kirk Cousins is going to have a lot of issues. Put the pressure on him, make him release the ball very quickly, because if you're able to do that, I don't think good things are going to happen for the Vikings offense.
Yeah, I think this is a coming out game for Jalen Carter. I think people around a standalone game, everybody's going to be watching. I think people are going to figure out how good Jalen Carter is against perhaps the worst interior offensive line in football. At Kayla _Santiago 1. Make sure you follow Kayla on Twitter or X, whatever you prefer. Sports director at Delmarva Sports. She does that. She works for the Delaware Blue Coats. Sideline reporter. Fill in play-by-play as well. I love, by the way, Delaware. I told Kayla last night, Jody, I love when they call Delaware the 87ers. I don't want to dumb it down for the people. I feel like they dumbed it down. I thought that was a great nickname for Delaware. The Sixers, obviously, G League team. And most importantly, Kayla is one of the post-game hosts on JAKIB Sports Eagles post-game show. With Mike Missinelli, Derek Gunn, Seth Joyner, Mark Barzetta, cast of thousands. So watch her there each and after every Eagles game as well. And after all that long-winded for all the stuff you're doing, my last one is, does the Wicomico Civic Center still exist?
It does. Yeah, we actually we have some pro MMA fights there, which are always awesome. And they have a big basketball Governor's Challenge tournament as well during the holiday season in December. So yeah, it's still there. It's alive and well, and it always is hosting events.
Yeah. I used to be able to name every arena in the country until they renamed them all. It was and Wicomico Youth and Civic Center, I think, was the official title. Does it have a sponsored name?
That's still it as far as I know. That's what we usually call it when we go there. So, but it's a really good facility. It can hold a lot of people and have a lot of good events.
Right. It all comes down to sponsorship.
That's true.
Somebody's going to write a check. We'll rename the building.
No. Absolutely.
Right. Kayla, last one for me. And this is probably, again, another unfair question, but I got faith in you because I'm not begin to ask McMullen. Although you and I don't know each other, I trust your fashion sense. Who was the best guest? Well,
I wasn't me. Everybody was dressed. I wasn't. I had my JAKIB Sports, so it certainly wasn't me.
I think Seth Joyner had a really good.
It should be Seth.
He had the good. I think it was like a blue and white jacket. Everybody looked really nice, but he was matching, and it looked really nice. I do have to say.
Seth's got that NFL money. It should be Seth. Come
That's
on,
it.
that's not fair.
There's some guys who have NFL money who can't dress, Johnny.
That's true.
You know
that is true. You see all the walk-ups all the time from some NFL players.
Yeah,
so
that's true. That's true.
Kayla, great stuff. We appreciate you jumping in with us. We're going to draft you for day after usage from time to time during the year. Thanks for jumping in today, and we'll talk to you again down the road.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Kayla
Thanks,
Santiago here with us on Birds 365. Yeah, that was pretty much a laugh. Like I said, I apologize. Couldn't watch the post-game show. When the Eagles play at 1, I can get a little of the post-game show before I got to be on the air on CBS Sports Radio. Yeah, if they play 4 o'clock game, I'm out. I don't get a chance to catch any of the post-game.
What about a 8 o'clock, 8:20 game on Thursday nights? Because we'll be on that bad boy at 8, 9, 10, 11, 11:30-ish. You won't see me till at least 12:30.
I catch a little of
stay
that.
up?
If they got prime time, I can catch some of it before I got to get to bed and then get up and see your ugly mug here with me on YouTube the next morning. So it's a tough task, but
as Mike Missinelli says, we're on for 4 hours. So
4 hours, it just doesn't seem like 4 hours. It depends. There's a difference there. All right, McMahon and McDonald coming back. We'll put a bow on the show. Eagles win. Eagles win. Eagles win. It wasn't an impressive win, but it's a win. Is a win. Is a win. McMullen and McDonald right back here on Birds 365.